I'm Graham Drumgoole, and this is Public Pictures Theater. And we will be watching Beat the Devil today. This is the story of a couple and three businessmen in contest for a claim to an East African territory rich in uranium. This film starts with them stuck in an Italian port town until their ship can take them on their way. One of the best ways to watch this film is to choose who you would like to win the claim and then follow them closely. Beat the Devil, directed by John Huston, was the last film directed by him before Moby Dick. It was essentially written on a day-to-day basis, with the original script being thrown out the first day of filming. Beat the Devil entered the public domain after not having its copyright renewed. The remastered version, however, is not in the public domain. Now we present Beat the Devil. Welcome back. We hope you enjoyed the movie, and we're going to discuss a couple things now about Beat the Devil. My first question is, would you still wait for the boat instead of just flying?
We ought to have got the plane and flown out, as I said from the start. You remember I said it, O'Hara?
My name is not O'Hara, it is O'Hara. You hear? Mr. O'Hara.
Yes, Mr. O'Hara. But you remember I said it? I said we ought to take a plane.
I personally would have just been like, okay, it's been a day and things still aren't going. I'm just gonna fly. What do you think?
I think it would probably depend on how reliable planes were in 1953. I'm sure they weren't as safe as they are today, so I think that might be a concern. But also, I mean, a boat, there's always the possibility of drowning, so I guess either one is equally as dangerous.
Moving on a little bit, changing a little bit of a direction here. What do you guys think of their get rich quick strategy of this? We're just gonna go in there, we're just gonna mine out everything, and then we're just gonna make bank. Do you think it's a good idea, or do you think that it's kind of overplayed?
But aren't you afraid, Billy, that when our little party doesn't show up on the date you said, aren't you a teeny bit afraid that your friend might use that as an excuse to begin negotiations elsewhere?
I think maybe at the time it wasn't necessarily overplayed, because we look at now, and I feel like that's a big thing now is, oh, there's new oil deposits. We'll go buy that land and then either get all the oil out, or maybe it's fracking. So we hear a lot about it today in the news as an actual thing. But I think then it wasn't the worst plan. I mean, it gives you something to do for a while. And things weren't as sure back then. So I don't know. I think it might have been a fun adventure and a worthwhile endeavor to go try and find this uranium.
It's really interesting that they just, out of the blue, just know that there's uranium there. How are these other people not knowing that there's just a massive stockpile of uranium there that could be making them rich? Leah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't understand how they would know that either, because there was no internet. There definitely wasn't that many means of communication between countries at that time, overseas. I really don't know how they found out that there was uranium there, or how they knew that it was true, that they knew that they could trust that there was actually going to be uranium there. They couldn't fact check that. So that was interesting that they kind of risked all that for something that they really didn't even know was there or not.
It was basically a giant ledge they were all willing to jump off, and they were willing to burn down every bridge they have to basically get rich. Moving on to our next question. Who did you guys want to win the claim, or were you satisfied with the ending?
I don't know that I was necessarily rooting for anyone to win the claim in the end. I was satisfied with what happened, because through everything that was going on, I really didn't think that somebody was actually going to get there. I thought it was all just going to end with them, like, nobody having gotten there, and the whole big scheme still being revealed. But I like that twist at the end, because he did jump overboard. Harry jumped overboard, and we had no idea what happened to him. So it was kind of cool to see that come back, because I didn't think that was something that would happen very often. And
yeah, it was a really interesting twist, and it was kind of unexpected.
Yeah, I didn't want anybody to get the uranium, just because there wasn't really anybody there wasn't any good guy to be rooting for. They were all bad people, so I kind of didn't really care. Yeah, but I think the way that they ended up doing it, though, with the twist, was smart and clever.
What do we all think the moral of this story is?
Should you ever think of me in Earl's Court, that's where I'll be, helping Harry's parents with the lodgers. Should you ever think of me, try not to let it be too harshly.
You kiss her too, Billy, and tell her she's forgiven.
Sure.
Goodbye, Billy.
Bye.
This twist at the end that they throw in kind of mixes up what I thought the original moral was going to be. I thought that no one was going to get the claim, and it was going to be, don't tempt fate, something along those lines. But once we see that letter, everything kind of changes for me.
I don't think there was a moral of the story. I think they missed out on. I don't think they knew the moral of the people making the movie. I don't think they knew the moral of the story. Yeah, I don't think there was one.
I think it kind of got lost because this script was written on a day-to-day basis. So I think they didn't have a plan for a moral at the end. So they just kind of tried to fit it in with a redemption arc. And I don't know how I feel about it.
yeah, I know that watching it, I kind of wrote down some of my thoughts, and one of them was it was fun to watch, but it was kind of hard to understand. And now it's more understandable because you said that the script was written on a day-to-day basis, so you don't get that coherence that you would get if you had a fully written script to go off of right off the bat. So I think if they were aiming for a moral, it did get muddled and possibly lost in the script writing process that they chose to do.
I have an opportunity here for you guys. So if you were to redo this today, how do you think the story would be different?
I think I would have something happen to Gwendolyn, just because I don't like the fact that she's such a liar, and I don't know, just the way she's blatantly cheating on her husband. And I forget the other girl's name. I mean, she was like that too, but I feel like Gwendolyn was just more what's the word, sneaky and calculated throughout the whole movie. I feel like something should happen to her.
I think you ought to know that the business of one of these businessmen is murder.
That kind of shows that you shouldn't be like that. because karma or whatever, good things won't happen.
Some sort of moral justice is what you were looking for.
Yeah, kind of branching off of what Leah said. I like the idea of something happening to her, and also possibly playing out that idea that the two main couples were like flirting and cheating on each other with each other, and playing that out into more of an underlying storyline. So maybe that, I think Billy's wife's name was Rita, so that Rita ends up with Harry somehow in Africa with the uranium, and then maybe something happens to Gwendolyn where Billy crosses her or whatnot. But just playing that out a little more, because I wish I could have seen that, and I thought it would have, with everything going on, it would have made a cool, like, supplementary storyline.
Actually, can I just say, yeah, they were basically like swinging. They were swingers, basically. Like it's so weird how it just wasn't it was like acknowledged, but it wasn't acknowledged. Like they didn't say anything about it, but it was just so normal for them to be just like swapping wives. Like but yeah, I feel like there wasn't, like Gabby said, I feel like there wasn't a resolution to that, which I think would have enhanced the film in general.
I personally think it would have, if it was done today, it would have been like a private jet instead of just a boat, because I feel like no one really travels by boat anymore, and if it were to be done on a boat, it would be really awkward. It's just, why wouldn't you get a plane? But I think how it went for its time was very good. Do you guys relate this film to any modern films that seem kind of similar?
Yeah, I think maybe the one with Rebel Wilson and Anne Hathaway, what was it? Hustlers? I feel like it kind of reminded me of that one, just because it was a bunch of criminals and we were just seeing like which criminal could overdo the other criminals and be a better criminal, and which one could hustle the other criminals the best. So I feel like it kind of is like the Hustlers might be the modern version of that movie.
Well, unfortunately, I haven't seen Hustlers, so I don't know how to relate it back to this story. But I was thinking for a long time about what movies are similar, and the closest thing I could think of was like Castaway films, where someone gets lost on an island, but instead they're getting lost on the boat, and they just kind of get stuck there, and eventually they get saved, and they're saved in this situation is them crash landing and finding people who will take them back to Europe somehow.
I kind of thought of, and it's a stretch, but the idea of finding land in Africa to mine uranium kind of reminded me of Iron Man in finding, I can't remember what it's called. I can remember all the other fake elements.
What, vibranium?
Vibranium, yes. Yeah. And Tony going through all this effort and the entire underlying of just Marvel, the big Marvel films, of all of this vibranium in Africa. It reminded me a little bit of that, because there was a lot of shady stuff that went about trying to find vibranium, for those who didn't know about Wakanda, which is most people. So there's a little bit of similarities there, but I know it's also a little bit of a stretch.
I mean, there's a lot of similarities to a lot of other things, but I can't really put my finger on just like a exact similar film that's done in the same way. Because I think most films nowadays, they go for that moral, and this film kind of missed the ball on its moral, or its moral got muddied along the way, so it doesn't match what most films nowadays would look and sound like. That is all we have for everyone today, and I'm Graham Drumgoole. This is our Beat the Devil panel, and this has been Public Pictures Theater.